This is Channel 2 News at 5.
Here in Oregon today, thousands of people in Portland, Gresham, and Mid-County are making history. They are riding the Metropolitan Area Express, MAX light rail. The 15-mile line is running and open to the public for the first time tonight. My colleague Jeff Gianola is standing by at the Pioneer Courthouse Square station. He can tell us all about it. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Julie. It's taken years to build, millions of dollars to construct, and tonight MAX is on track. Portland has a light rail system. People behind me lined up to take advantage of the free rides. Now, opening day festivities began in Gresham early this morning. But right now, let's go live to the Lloyd Center station where Kevin Baird is standing by. Kevin.
Jeff, I was trying to figure out how to put this event in perspective. Now, certainly it hasn't generated as much excitement as the Blazers did back when they won the NBA title about 250 years ago. But there is a lot of anticipation and curiosity. People behind me are waiting for their first MAX light rail ride. I don't see it coming yet. They've been waiting a very long time. In the beginning, there were elaborate scale models, lots and lots of promises, torn up streets, and traffic nightmares. Now, 4.5 years later, $212 million spent, the MAX light rail arrives in suburban Gresham. A few minutes late, mind you. TriMet hopes that's not an omen of things to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, MAX is now part of our present and our future.
Events like this draw protesters and politicians like flies to flypaper. All kinds of familiar faces here. The early fights over light rail, long ago forgotten, and federal funding obtained when other projects were cut back or killed. A powerful senator did some arm twisting.
We're going to do one, only one, and guess what? We've decided to do the Banfield.
Bud and I have a long-standing challenge of which way this train is really going to go, whether we're at the beginning of the line or whether he's at the beginning of the line. We have commemorated today for our special honored guest a medallion of the city seal. I would like to ask Mayor Clark to hang this in a window in his office that faces east. And as the sun rises and hits the medallion, he will know truly where the star in the east is rising from.
Thank you very much. That gospel train is coming. I hear it close at hand. Get ready for that train ride. Coming through this land. Get on board.
VIPs climbed aboard for an inaugural ride down the 15-mile route from Gresham to downtown Portland.
We have received a report that there are 2 people in the back car who are dancing in the aisles. Oh no, please stop.
There were stops at Rockwood, Gateway, Hollywood, Lloyd Center, Old Town, and finally Pioneer Courthouse Square, where everybody got off to hear more politicians agree that they had done the right thing building MAX.
I think it signals that we've taken yet another step, my friends, together in making Portland and the surrounding area a world-class metropolitan area.
Folks down here seem to like it also.
I know it'll work because people have got to get from here to there, and people are also going to understand that we've got to make some changes because everybody driving their private cars is becoming a real problem. I've known that for 20 years. I don't drive cars.
You think it'll work, though?
I think probably have to go back to people for more fun.
Why do you say that?
Well, everything has to that way in Portland. It's been that way for years.
Okay, we're back live at Lloyd Center. What we'd hope to do is right now step on a light rail train, but there's none here. The schedule is a little messed up on the first day, so we have to be patient. But what we're going to do, Jeff, is take our trusty stopwatch and tell you how long it takes to get from Lloyd Center to downtown. That's one of the goals of light rail, is to connect these 2 sides of the city. Make some observations, so hopefully it'll be a little later in the program. We'll sit together and talk.
Okay, Kevin, we'll look forward to it. And the trains have been running slow down here at Pioneer Square as well, so hopefully Kevin will get on board, and we'll talk to him when he arrives here. Now, today and tonight kicks off a 3-day celebration called Ride the Rails. It's going to take place along the entire 15-mile route of light rail. Here's some of the events you'll see. Performances are scheduled by the Oregon Symphony, the popular rock band Crazy Eights, and the Woody Height Big Band. But there's a whole lot more going on. Stages will be located in Gresham, Rockwood, Gateway, Hollywood, Lloyd Center, Old Town, and of course here at Pioneer Square where the Oregon Symphony will play. So if you're looking for something to do this weekend, you don't have to look very far. Now, at Channel 2 News, we've been covering light rail for several years now, and you've been reading about it in the newspaper. How does the system actually work? What does it entail? Well, those are some of the questions we set out to answer, and right now, here are some facts about MAX.
The MAX route runs just more than 15 miles from Gresham to downtown Portland.
There are 27 stations along that route. MAX also has a fleet of 26 cars. Each two-car train can carry more than 300 passengers, and they're operated by one driver. The cars cost $800,000 each and have an estimated life of 30 years. They travel on standard railroad gauge tracks and are powered by electricity. The cars travel at roughly the same speeds as other traffic, running at 10 to 15 miles an hour downtown, at around 35 miles per hour on East Burnside, and reaching speeds of 55 miles an hour along the Banfield. The trip from Gresham to downtown or from downtown to Gresham will take 45 minutes. The trains run about every 10 minutes during rush hour and every 15 minutes during other times. The bill for the entire project tallied up at more than $212 million, 83% of that coming from federal funds. Those are just some facts about MAX. Now, as you can see behind me, the people are lined up here. They're going to take a free ride on MAX. All this weekend, it's free, but come Monday, you're going to have to pay to ride light rail. But how do you go and ride light rail? How do you get the tickets? Well, I tried to find out some of those answers yesterday, and I found out it's really not that hard. This weekend, you can ride MAX for free, but starting Monday, you'll need a ticket.
MAX is just the same as the bus. Your direction of travel is the same. Boarding MAX is like boarding a bus, except for one important thing. There's no fare box on the train. You have to purchase your fare before you board.
You purchase tickets from a special machine. There are 72 machines along the route. They're located at each station and along the downtown transit mall. This is how the automatic ticket machine works. For instance, I want to travel from downtown to the Hollywood district. Well, that goes through two zones. So I select the two-zone button. It tells me the amount due, 85 cents. I have $1, so I simply stick it in the machine here. It takes my money. It gives me change, and I pick up my ticket, all at the same time. Each machine has an easy-to-read map with the zones marked clearly and a complete fare schedule. The most it will cost you is $1.35 for a complete one-way trip from Gresham to downtown. But there are senior discounts and other discounts for purchasing tickets in advance. Once you've gotten off MAX, you can transfer to a bus, as long as you show the driver your ticket and as long as you're traveling in the same zone and your time hasn't run out yet. The ticket works just like a bus transfer. You can hop on a train without a ticket, but fare inspectors will be on the prowl. It'll cost you $36 if you're caught, and the rule will be strictly enforced. It's important to remember that some regular bus lines are going to change come Sunday. TriMet's going to be putting up some new bus signs, especially on the routes where the buses feed the light rail system. So the best advice, if you rely on bus service, check schedules very carefully, especially Monday, if you need the bus to make your way to work. And Julie, that wraps it up for here right now at Pioneer Square. We're going to be back a little bit later with some of the political and controversial questions concerning the light rail system and an interesting look back at the past. You know, this isn't the first electric train to run in Portland. Portland had all sorts of electric trains a few years ago, and we're going to look at some interesting pictures from back then. It's a fascinating story. So, Julie, we'll hang out down here until then, and we'll see you in just a little bit.
Okay, you mentioned some delays. Any idea how long people are waiting there behind you?
Well, the latest group here, about 20 minutes, Julie, but you have to understand, this line is big. You can only see a portion of it. It goes all the way back to the street and then up another block.
I don't blame those people. They want a free ride. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Okay. Hello again, everybody. Jeff Gianola live at Pioneer Courthouse Square in downtown Portland, where people are waiting to ride the new light rail system, MAX. They've been waiting a long time. The trains are running slow this evening, but everyone is being patient. The new light rail cars and the new rail stations all seem like new technology to most of us, but to Portland old-timers, it's a very familiar scene. Tonight, Mark Cass takes a look at the history and the controversy and the man who got light rail, where it is today.
Portland's love affair with rail transit is anything but new. Trolley cars clacked through the streets through the 30s and 40s. And it was only a new love affair with our own personal cars that spelled the end of the trolley system in 1950. Ironically, it was the traffic and pollution those cars created and the energy they consumed that prompted city leaders to consider a new transit system similar to the one abandoned 30 years earlier. Portland Mayor Neil Goldsmith emerged as the principal champion of light rail. The issue became the city's hottest political fight, with light rail supporters on one side, proponents of a new freeway on the other.
We were all up against the pressure. It came to a council vote. So we were getting lobbied on both sides, pro and con, and it became a very hot political issue. A very hot political issue.
Despite its name, the proposed Mount Hood Freeway would have gone nowhere close to Mount Hood. It would have stretched 5 miles from the Interstate 5 Markham Bridge to what is now Interstate 205.
The biggest challenge was the controversy between transit and highway advocates. And what Neil forged was a strategy that brought those two together. The Banfield project was the first project in the United States where both transit and highway investments were planned in the same program.
And that meant construction to build a light rail alongside the new Banfield Freeway project, a landmark strategy that has since been copied in other cities.
It was a 4-to-1 vote. Neil played a very important role in it, I think. It took somebody with leadership to do it, leadership and courage.
And after more than a decade, light rail politics are still alive and well. Today, Neil Goldsmith is on the receiving end of a lot of light rail credit. But others point out that light rail politics cuts like a double-edged sword, and that if things don't work out quite as hoped, he may be on the receiving end of a lot of blame tomorrow. In Portland, Mark Hass, Channel 2 News. It costs millions of dollars to build, Max. If it weren't for the federal government and federal money, this system never would have been built. As a matter of fact, over the last 5 years, TriMet has benefited very nicely thanks to the federal government. But as Tim Hillard reports, those days are coming to an end.
MAX may be the most visible, but it is only one example of what federal aid has bought for TriMet riders. Park and ride lots and transit centers have nearly all been built because of federal tax dollars. Buses, too, have been bought with help from Uncle Sam. In fact, in the past 5 years, much of what's new at TriMet has been built thanks to an aid package in which local taxpayers pay less than 1/3 of a project's cost, with the federal government paying the rest.
Oh, there.
Even bus fares have been held down, in part because the federal government also gives TriMet money to operate its buses. But the brakes on both kinds of aid are now on. In 1981, Uncle Sam gave TriMet $7 million in operating aid, more than 10% of its budget. That figure has steadily declined to $4 million this year, with only $3 million expected next. And now that MAX is finished, federal money for construction projects will dwindle too. Uncle Sam has already promised to help build more park and ride lots and even buy more buses. But those projects won't go forward until TriMet comes up with some local money. And in the future, the Reagan administration wants money for transit to come out of the same pie as does money for federal roads. It also wants the total pie to be smaller.
In the past, the federal government hasn't gone along with all of the president's ideas on transit. In fact, if it had, there wouldn't be any transit aid today at all. But it's clear that the federal government is slowly getting out of the transit business. And as it does, the impact will most likely be felt in one place, the TriMet fare box. In Washington, D.C., Tim Hillard, Channel 2 News.
An estimated 200,000 jammed the MAX light rail this past weekend for free Get Acquainted rides. Even TriMet seemed astonished so many people had shown up. But today the platforms were not crowded as MAX began full fare scheduled service between suburban Gresham and downtown Portland, a 15-mile loop. The new pay-before-you-board machines confounded many.
And you have to get off before you get to Lloyd Center.
Before Lloyd Center?
Before Lloyd Center, because that one is only 3 zones. From here to Lloyd Center or downtown is 4.
4 zones, all zones, $1.35. So I need to just purchase one for an extra zone then?
You should have purchased one for an all-zone ticket to start.
Okay.
Once on the MAX, things went better. Some got their first feel of the $214 million system designed to be reliable and simple.
The seats, they feel more comfortable on your back. Some of the bus seats were kind of low or whatever, but these feel like they had people in mind when they built the thing.
I usually just drive in and park next to Bonnieville, but this takes you right to the front door. And last few days I've had the Banfield has been backed up with traffic. So this will get us there quicker and it's more comfortable. You don't have to fight the traffic.
First in Yamhill Center, Yamhill.
But after trying it once, some were not persuaded.
I think it's clean and it's quiet, but it certainly isn't any faster than the bus. It's not convenient for me. I'll probably not take it again.
Returning from morning rush hour, trains were almost empty, exactly what critics had warned. But TriMet is still optimistic.
This is new. People are not quite used to it yet, but I was quite surprised how many commuters we did have today.